Happy Father's Day. Father's Day is one of those heart tugging holidays. For some people, it's a wonderful, fun day. You get to celebrate your dad in your life. For dads, your kids make you little trinkets. Your kids call you. So far, it's still morning. I've had one kid call me. So far. But for some people, Father's Day is just another day. I'm on a bike ride this morning. I'm about 10 miles away from my boat in a place called Bear Point Mitigation Bank, or Bear Point Preserve. And it's so quiet out here. I can hear the water from the Indian River and the locusts or crickets or whatever those things are. But it's quiet and I like it. And it's Father's Day, and this is almost 4 years that I've not even spoken to my father. And there's lots and lots and lots of good dads out there. But at the same time, there are lots of deadbeat assholes as well. And the point of me making this is not for the people with the good dads. For the people with the good dads, man, I'll never take that away from you. Good for you. Good for him. But there's a certain portion of the population. I wouldn't say it's half, but it's a bunch. Over 20%, over 30%. A lot of people that have shitty fathers. And particularly if you're a young person with a shitty father, Father's Day is one of those days that you've gone through a plethora of emotions over your life. Generally speaking, people with shitty or absent fathers, when they're young, they typically long for dad. Now, before I go any further, some fathers are absent not out of their choice. And that can be blamed almost exclusively on the mothers, but particularly the tool called the family court. And I'm most certainly not bashing mother, father, woman, man. I'm way beyond that. But for a lot of people, Father's Day is just a day we've gone through a series of emotions our entire life. And again, the young people with absent / shitty fathers, sometimes those are one and the same. When you're young, you want time with dad. You want to be accepted for who you are by dad. You want the love that you feel for your dad to be reciprocated. And it never comes. So I'm 44. After 40 years of my life of being that way, I've learned that it is just easier to accept that people don't change. And for the young people or old people, the people this is who I'm talking to mostly, with absent / shitty fathers, that is not a reflection on you. That is a reflection on them. You feel awful, And generally speaking, most people keep it to themselves. I mostly kept my problems with my dad to myself for the longest time, talking, maybe to mom, maybe to my sisters. I can't speak for everybody else, but without going into too much detail, I'm not here to bash my dad. That's not the reason for doing this. The reason for doing this is I kept quiet for a long time. Much like my battle to be involved with my children's lives, I kept quiet for a long time, and it never got any better. I never wanted to go public with all of my stuff. That was never, I didn't set out, that wasn't my original plan. It just worked out that way. And once the cat's out of the bag, I just ran with it. I mean, to anyone who knows me personally, it's no secret whatsoever that I have daddy issues. And the way I finally dealt with it at age 40 was I disowned him. Caleb, you can't do that. Everybody makes mistakes. That's the excuse always given. And it's true. Everybody does make mistakes. I am the king of screwing up. I've screwed up so much. For one, I made 4 children with a woman I wasn't compatible with. And again, just as a caveat, I'm not here to bash my kid's mom either. Not what I'm here to do. But it's an obvious fact that anybody who knows me personally, or in this case, anybody who's watching my YouTube channel, they all know that. It's not a secret. I made 4 children with someone I was not compatible with. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. I'm not saying I don't love my children. Obviously I do. I've already gone to jail for them. Technically twice. Sentenced only once, bailed out, appealed, lost, had to go back. So, twice. I love my children, and if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't want to, but I would. I want to protect them, even though they're grown now. Of course I want to protect them. I love them. I care about them. But this excuse that is true, and which is everybody makes mistakes, is also detrimental. Just because everybody makes mistakes, does not mean you get to use that as a get out of jail free card for continually being a dick. And if you're doing that to your children, you are changing who they are. I'm a firm believer that to the core, people don't change. I generally don't want to hurt anybody for any reason. I'll do what I have to protect me and my own, but outside of that, I don't want to harm anybody. That's not who I am. I have changed in the fact that I quit drinking. Hello, big mistake, starting drinking to solve my problems. Mistake number 2 on my part. I will be actually 10 months sober tomorrow. And I'm really proud of that. I really, really am. That was, I ain't gonna lie, that was fucking hard. That was real hard to do. That first week, 2 weeks of detox, oh my God. It was miserable, but I got through it. What I'm saying is your father should not and cannot, even though they do, too many times unfortunately, use that excuse of everybody makes mistakes to saying, I'm going to do whatever I want because it interests me even though it harms you, child of mine. And I'm going to use that excuse of everybody makes mistakes. Little Johnny, you can't be mad at me because everybody makes mistakes. Of course I made mistakes. and then not change your ways. That's not saying you can change who you are, but you can change your habits. You sure can. Because what happens if you don't, it makes the kid feel like there's something wrong with them. And I'm here to tell all you kids with shitty and or absent fathers, that is not a reflection on you. They made their choices. If they don't accept you for how you are, that's their problem, not your problem. If your choices in life are just you being you, enjoying this very short life that we have, as long as you're not harming anyone else and you're pulling your own weight, again, if you're a kid, like at home, 10 years old, of course you're dependent. You're dependent on other people. You can't fully pull your own weight. That's understandable. As you get older, you will always be who you are. I will always be who I am. I will never understand my father, and I assume he will never understand me. And I'm not going to lie, even though it's been 4 years, I think about him. Like, probably daily. It doesn't just live in my head. I go and do things that I enjoy doing, but I don't think about him. But certainly weekly, I think about him. However, I had no longer have expectations that he is going to change who he is and give more than just two shits about me. I've accepted it, and that makes the pain either lessen or pretty much go away. Because back when I had hope, it hurt. I did a lot of things I wouldn't normally do to get that acceptance. And some people are probably shaking their head, Caleb, why are you talking about this? I mean, you're Jesus Christ, you're already open too much as is. The reason I'm talking about it is it has become apparent to me that I've learned, just being in the position that I'm in, I'm not the only person this happens to. It's much like the family court and divorces. My kids going through bullshit in the family court, they're not unique. Lots of people do it. There's a reason the 14-year-old Parker movie is about to hit 37 million views, because there's a new crop of 14-year-olds that happens to every single year. But what I've noticed is, since I realize I'm not alone, even at my age, at 44, if you're watching this and you're 16, if you're 12, 14, hell, some grown men older than me have reached out to me. Quite a few, like shockingly, more than I ever would have expected. 50s and 60-year-old men reaching out to me. If you keep it bottled up and don't tell anybody and don't discuss it with family members that you can trust, which those are very few, a friend that you can trust, a shrink if you can afford one, you start to think that you're the only one. Because you get online, and on a day like today, being Father's Day, Happy Father's Day, Happy Father's Day. Do you see all these people with these happy Father's Day things? Some people could be bullshitting, and just, which is not uncommon on the internet. But there's a lot of people, some I know personally, have great relationships with their dads. And they'll post something online. Happy Father's Day, Dad. You got a picture of the arm around them, doing whatever. And you see that over and over and over throughout for year after decade, in my case, decade after decade. And you start to think, is there something wrong with me? Because, again, I wasn't always this public about everything. Not by a long shot. I'm generally, well, I am an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I like extroverts. I like being around them. They're fun, but I'm not one of them. And people who don't know me in person, who've just seen my activism videos, think, well, he must be a natural born extrovert. I'm not. That was either a defense mechanism or coping, figuring out a way to be I loved my kids more than I loved my, privacy. I like being alone. Hence the reason I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. Where was I at? Oh yeah, you start thinking that you're the only one. You start thinking, what's wrong with me? Everybody seems so happy. Everybody's dad's got their arm around them. Everybody's happy. And the thing is, nobody wants to talk about these real issues. These real issues that it's hard being a dad. I know it was hard for my dad. I know it was. It's been really hard for me too. But I think if we don't start talking about it, then it's never going to get any better. These bad, shitty dads are going to keep doing what they do, making more kids, making more miserable human beings with daddy issues. And if we don't talk about it and fix it, it's just going to perpetuate. And I'm not saying you got to just suddenly get on the internet and start blurting out everything. I'm not saying that at all. I do it because I've been doing this so long. Once the Parker movie went viral, I was, back then I was desperate to do anything to change, sorry about the wind, the position that we were in with the family courts. But you find somebody you can trust, and just know this, you can't trust most people. And I think most people generally know that, instinctively know that you can't trust most people because most people are out for themselves. But if you can find somebody that you can talk to about these things, I encourage you to do it. I'm finally starting to get back on my feet a little bit. I think even I'm going to go see a shrink. I went 15 years ago, but I don't want to get off into that. But anyways, the excuse that everybody makes a mistake, yes, it is a fact, but it shouldn't be something that just wipes the slate clean just because you're the dad. That whole parenting because I said so bullshit is exactly that. If you're a child in the middle of the street and your dad yells at you, "Get out of the street!" That's one of those things where there's a time constraint. It is absolutely what you should do right then. Listen to your dad, get out of the street. Do what he says because he says it, because there's an imminent danger you're going to get run over by a car. Outside of that, just because he's your father doesn't necessarily mean he's right. And that's going to rub a lot of people, particularly with people my age and older, that are having trouble with their 20, 30, 40-year-old children. That's going to rub a lot of them the wrong way, but I don't care. I guess you don't own me. Nobody does. I own me. And for those deadbeat fathers out there who are just selfish pricks that all you care about is chasing ass or making money or whatever your hobby may be, it's human nature. Everybody wants to get laid. Sorry for the younger viewers. When you get older, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Sure, it's a natural. Making money. I hate the idea of money, the concept of money, but it is what it is. You got to have it to a degree, to an extent. I get it. You got to work hard. It's a mean world. But You shouldn't have had those kids just out of tradition. Tradition, in my opinion, is bullshit. You do something because your family's always done it. Your dad always did it. Your grandpa always did it. If you like to do it, fine. Nothing wrong with that. But if you don't like doing it, it's not for you, and you go do your own thing, your own way, and then your dad's dad frowns upon that and makes you feel like crap for doing something that's not harming anybody else except for maybe their stupid pride. Like, just for an example, in my case, going to church. It's no big secret, I'm agnostic now. I was raised in the church, the Baptist church. Oh, coincidentally, I was stabbed in the back by the church too. And most of my family, but that's a different story. I don't go to church. I'll never go to church. I don't like church. I'm not convinced that there is a God. I'm not atheist. I'm not convinced there is no God, but there might be a God. I just simply don't know. But religion is one of those things that parents unfortunately use to guilt their children into doing the same traditional, useless, unprovable bullshit just because that's the way they always did it. It's the tradition. Like Doug Stanhope says, tradition is dead people's baggage. That's all it is. Be a good person. Help people when you can. Love yourself, even if you're not accepted, even by your own family. Happy Father's Day. Y'all take care.